Hello, this is my submission for the Al Jazeera YouTube Worldview interview with British Prime Minister Mr. David Cameron. If you're not Mr. David Cameron, then watch the video anyway, and if you like it enough and you would like to hear Mr. Cameron answer my question, then go to www.youtube.com/worldview and look for my video and vote for it. If you are Mr. Cameron, hello, and thank you for taking the time to listen to me. I apologise if this is going to be a little bit long, but I can assure you that it's going to be worth it. So let's get started. So Mr. Cameron, or may I call you Dave, looking at some of the other submissions, a lot of them are about budget cuts and so on, which is hardly surprising because, we both know that you can't make budget cuts without making a lot of people angry. So all I'm going to say about that is I really hope you know what you're doing. So on the basis that all the questions that can be asked about that have already been asked, I'm going to ask a completely different question about more long-term policies. First of all, a little bit of background. Hello, my name is Andrew. I'm British, as you can probably hear, but I'm actually an expat. I live in Germany. Specifically, I live in the northwest of Bavaria in a very beautiful and rural valley which is sprinkled with lots of small little villages. Now, the amazing thing about this valley is that we actually have a really decent public transport system, as there is everywhere in Germany. We've got a train that runs almost the whole length of the valley and gives us an hourly service to the big cities. And also a dense network of bus services to serve all the other little bits that can't be reached by rail. So to give you an example of just how well it can work, I can walk from here down to the station, take a train into the city of Hanau, from there take an S-Bahn train right into the centre of Frankfurt and spend the whole day in Frankfurt travelling around on the underground buses and trams and do the whole return journey on one ticket that costs a little under 15 euros. So here's the thing. Every time I go back to Britain, it seems that it's a complete nightmare just travelling around. I originally come from Glastonbury, which is a town of about 8,000 people or so, and is right next to another town called Street, which has a similar sized population, and not very far away is Wells, which is just slightly bigger. Now, you would think that these three communities together, with a combined population of something like 30,000 people, ought to have at least one railway station. But no, basically when I go back to Britain I have to find my way to Bristol and from there spend an hour and a half on the 376 bus to travel a total distance of about 20 miles. I really would prefer to actually be able to do that journey by rail, especially when I'm accompanied by my wife, who is German and doesn't spend a lot of time in countries where you drive on the left, and as a result screams in terror every time we come to a roundabout and grabs hold of my arm so tight that the blood flow to the fingers is cut off. And Dave, there's only so much punishment my arms can take. To be fair, my wife was a little bit rattled at the time because, on landing at Bristol Airport, the pilot had misjudged the elevation of the runway by about 6 inches. And I know you've been on enough flights, David, to know what that's like. Now, I don't hold you responsible for the present state of the public transport infrastructure in Britain. As far as I can see, the rot set in back in the day when they decided to close all the branch lines because they were losing money. What this meant was that all of a sudden entire communities like, for example, Glastonbury, were completely bereft of a rail service and had to travel by bus to the nearest railway station, which was quite a long distance. And as we know, buses are slow, they're uncomfortable, there's no space for luggage, and of course, they're a lot less efficient at carrying people than trains are. So it's hardly surprising then that at this point, lots of Britons decided, stuff it, and just went by car. So my analysis of the situation is that more and more people are travelling by car because nobody wants to travel long distances by bus, a few miles at most. And the mainline railways, of course, because they're not getting fed by all the old branch lines, are being starved of customers and therefore starved of resources, and that's one reason that we're in the mess we're in now. It's affecting the whole transport infrastructure, not just the public transport, but also private transport, because as fast as you can build roads, they're filling up with cars, more and more of them all the time. Now, thanks to the power of the internet, I'm able to listen to Radio 4, so I've picked up on some of the things that the government has been saying about improving safety on the railways and trying to get something in place in time for the Olympics so that people can actually get places, which is very nice, but what next? It seems to me that what is required is a complete overhaul of the entire infrastructure, or some kind of revolutionary idea, simply to stop the country grinding to a halt. So, my question is, what are the long-term goals of the government with regards to the transport infrastructure? What are you going to do to make sure that Britain is still operating, say, in 50 years' time? That's it. That's my question. Thank you for listening, and, well, I'll be interested to hear the answer. Goodbye.